Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I really want to thank you all for listening. It was so great. I was off for so long because my computer was broke, it didn't work, and got it fixed finally, but it took weeks. We missed all the playoffs, and so many of you came back and listened, and I really appreciate all the kind words and people that said they missed me, and that would really meant a lot to me. So, but today we have a big topic, and I think I'm not going to be very popular because I'm a pretty positive person about the Pistons, and this is not a negative thing in my opinion, but I'm going to talk today about why the Pistons should not re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dennis Schroder. And I know a lot of it, we all fall in love with them. I fell in love with them. They came in. Hardaway exceeded my expectations. I saw him as the truth is the Mavericks didn't even play him in the playoffs in the finals when he was with Dallas the last year, and they were just trying to unload him. They've been trying to get rid of him for like 3 years. So we really got the 3 draft picks because they wanted to just get rid of his contract. And so, and I don't know why we gave up Grimes. We'll talk about him sometime later, but he's been really good. But anyway, Hardaway came in from day one, and he busted his butt from the opening day of practice, training camp. He was intense. He was purposeful. He was a great role model for the players on the team. He had a great attitude. It wasn't like, he could have easily came in and said, "Oh, I've been this guy. I've been playing in the league all these years. I played on these good teams, and I'm coming to a team that's only won 14 games, and I'm not, and had a different like attitude where he wasn't all in. He was all in from the first day. He didn't wait to come all in after we started winning a bunch of games. You could just tell by his attitude and effort and the way he interacted with the other players. So I it was great what he did, but I'm going to get into why we can't keep him. And then it comes to Shooter, and another thing, Hardaway did not shoot that great this year, but we'll get into his stats. And Shooter's the same thing. So Shooter came in, and he's been played for 8 different teams. So there's something not quite right. You just don't get when you're talented because he's talented, and he's tough. He's 6'1", 185 or something, or less than that. 172 he weighs. He weighs less than me, and so he is tougher than nails. He came in with a great attitude. Got traded from the Golden State Warriors, but he came to the Pistons right from the beginning. He just fought and he battled. Didn't always shoot good, but he was really, really um, all in, and you could tell other players on the team liked him. And so I'm not sure why he's been traded so many times, but there has to be a reason. So, but here's the reality. So they're both free agents. They're both unrestricted. If we don't sign them, we have more money to try to sign another player. Like, for example, if we want to get a stretch four, if there's one out there that we possibly could get, we have more money. But here's the biggest problem, and this is my perspective as a coach. You have players on your team, and they are still have good years left. Hardaway, the truth is, it was amazing. Hardaway, I looked into his stats. He didn't shoot that great for the season. He averaged 11 points, shot 40% from the floor, not 41, just 40%, 36% on threes. Well, guess what? That was almost identical to his career. And my problem always with Tim Hardaway Jr. was I always felt like has talent. He could shoot the ball, but he always felt like he was an all-star or like he was like Kobe Bryant. So he took tough shots. He took shots like Kobe took, which I even felt like Kobe shouldn't have taken some of those hard shots because they're low percentage shots, and he could at times knock them down. But anyway, he's not a great shooter. But the other things about him is he doesn't rebound and he doesn't get assists. So he averaged 11 points, but he averaged 2.4 rebounds only and 1.6 assists, and shot 40% from the floor, 36% from three, and 85% from the line. Again, that was what his stats were last year. That is what his career stats were. He averaged 28 minutes a game, and he made 68 million. But he's 33 years old, and so he's not going to get any better. He's going to get he could go downhill. Older players don't play as well, and I've talked about that before. So then in the playoffs, he played 31 minutes, 31.3 minutes a game in the playoffs, and he was worse. He averaged 12 points, but he 2.8 rebounds in 31 minutes, 2.1 assists, which is bad. Shot 33% and 30% on threes. And we got him out there to space the floor because he's not a good defender. He's a below average defender at best. And so what is he going to give you? Shooting. So he shot 33% overall and 30% on threes. But listen, he had one game, the game that we lost, he was 7 for 12. He kept us in it. He was amazing. 7 for 12 on threes. The other 5 games, he was 9 for 40. 9 for 40. And JB keeps on playing him. And so, he doesn't feel like he could play anybody else. So I just I just don't think that it's not good to keep them. He's had the best attitude. It can matter, but again, I'm gonna jump around a little bit still. And Schroder, he came in late in the season, shot poorly for us, and he played. He's a better defender, but he's still undersized. He still couldn't stop Brunson, but a lot of people can't stop Brunson except Asar. And so, but because he's only 6'1" and 172 pounds, and he played 75 games this season and averaged 31 points a game, 2.6 assists. But he shot 40%, 34% on threes, and that is about the same as his career. Um, for the Pistons, he averaged 25 minutes a game. So, but here's the big problem. So I just jump into it. Both of those guys, JB loved them. JB had a lot of respect for them, and you can't help it. They had great attitudes. They had great effort, but they're not going to be happy coming in here and playing a minor role. So, say if Hardaway said, I'm willing to play token minutes or jump in if the team's not clicking, or if somebody gets injured, then I'll be a stopgap person to plug in. He's not going to be happy. And JB has proven that he's going to play those vets. Like I said, in the playoffs, he shot miserably, and JB played him more than he did during the regular season. Of course, everybody typically shoots worse during the playoffs than they do during the regular season. It's across the board in the NBA. You look at the scoring; it's never even been worse. The scoring always dropped in the playoffs, but this year it's more than ever. It's dropped. So, but JB will not be able to help himself, and it's hard. Again, I coach where I have seniors, high school kids, but they're seniors, and so they feel like they're entitled to play, not in a bad entitlement way, but they expect to play. And then again, I think if they have them, no matter what, there were lots of games this year where Hardaway played terrible, and Holland or Asar played good, and he still played Hardaway all those minutes, and he didn't give those other guys extra minutes. The biggest problem, though, is so Ivy's coming back. So now if we have Hardaway and Schroder, where are Ivy's minutes going to come from? So our team turned around when in the beginning of January, almost when Ivy got hurt. It's because we put Asar into the lineup, and he just completely changed our team defensively. He made us so much better in transition. My contention is we still would have been fantastic if Ivy would have been playing instead of Hardaway. But so there's only so many minutes in a game. I talk about this quite often. So if Cade plays, if Cade plays 36 minutes, that leaves 12 minutes for a backup point guard. It would have been great to have Schroder be your backup point guard, but he's not going to be happy playing 12 minutes. And JB's not going to be able to help himself. He's going to still want to play him more than 12 minutes. And so that's where the problem is. So not that I don't want to keep them. Of course, like Trajan said, it's all going to depend on who comes back about if they want to take the money that we can give them. My contention, though, is we can't give them the role that they're going to want. Their role would be far diminished from what they had last year, and they're still too young. Schroder's 32 years old, and Hardaway's 33 years old. They're sort of getting at the end of their prime, but and they're going to go downhill, so they're going to want to play. And so I just don't think. I think we got to play Ivy, and so where's those minutes going to come from? And we got to play. We want to play Holland more. We want to play Asar more. They were playing not enough minutes as it was, and so I mean I'm here for you, and I know a lot of you will disagree with me on this one. I would rather lose a couple more games next year than um, and play Asar and Holland more. So uh, I know you might disagree with me. I don't want to lose more games. I do really believe that we will win more games, and I think that there will be, as long as we don't have injuries, as long as those, I think, because I think we're going to have just a lot of guys improve. We're going to come in from the first day. Everybody's going to know JB's system. He's not going to have to run through everything. Everything's going to go much faster. Everybody's going to bought in. We have the culture that everybody's just so thrilled about. All these players are thrilled about, and I know that Schroder and Hardaway love playing on this team. So it's heartbreaking. And again, as a sports fan, my whole life, even with these guys like on these old Detroit Tiger teams I used to watch. There'd be these guys that like Tom Brookins and Don Wirt. Most of you will not even know who those guys are, but they were mediocre, and but they were part of our team, and we were winning, and so people fell in love with them because they had good attitudes and everything. So anyway, that's the problem, that we can't play. There's not enough minutes if we um, re-sign those guys, and the two big factors is they're not going to be happy. I don't blame them if they get their minutes cut dramatically, and JB can't help himself. And so I think just to make it easier on JB, there were kids. I feel bad. There were kids I didn't want to try out when I was a high school coach, and they were great kids, but they weren't very good players, and I was going to feel really bad about not playing them. I did. It happened to me all the time. I felt bad for every kid I wasn't getting in the game. Every game, I was conscious of every player on my team, but I was going to do what was best for the team, and I was going to play who was going to give us the best chance at the varsity level um, to win games. And so for a kid to go to practice every day, and for those guys, I know you're lucky if you're in the NBA, even if you're on the bench and you're making millions of dollars. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what Hardaway signs for with whoever he signs for with, and it's going to be interesting what happens with Schroder. If we re-sign him, I get tickled. His nickname was Dennis the Menace, and he was a menace on the court. But unless you're old like me, there's an old cartoon character called Dennis the Menace, and he was a bundle of dynamite. That was the cartoon, and he always got into trouble and stuff. But it was Dennis. He brought that swag to our team. I always would say during the games, he would get to loose balls where there's the 50-50 balls where two players are equal distance away from the ball. Dennis would get the balls that were 60-40 balls where he was further away than the opponent, and he would still just crash in there and get the ball. That's one of the reasons I think we're going to be so good. I mean, Asar is so elite at getting all those balls that he'll come from one side of the court. There'll be a rebound that will kick out, and it'll be out there by the top of the key or beyond the free throw line, and he will beat guys to the ball. And Ivy can do the same thing, and Holland does the same thing, and our fast break is going to be even better. So I just don't hate those guys. I appreciate what they did for us. They helped us take this huge step. We wouldn't have done it without them, but it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. There's only so many minutes of playing time, and there's only so much money to go around if we want to, again, sign a stretch for or get somebody out of free agency. And then there's Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's going to be playing for the Timberwolves tonight. And it's just interesting just finding out now he's cousins with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Shea's dad and Nickeil Alexander-Walker's mom are brother and sister, and so they're real close in age. They're less than a year apart, 52 days apart. They were born, and anyway, he's 26 years old. He's 6'5". He only made 4.3 million, and he played 25 games, or he played 82 games this year, and he's averaged 9.4 points, 3.2 rebounds, 2.7 assists, shot 44% from the floor, and 38% on threes, which is better than Hardaway and better than Schroder. And he is tougher, by far tougher on defense. He can lock down big guards, and he's a great guy to add to your team. And so I just think that I don't know how much it'll cost to get him. The problem is, why would I know some of you might be thinking, why would they ever want to get rid of him? Why would the Timberwolves? Well, they're in financial trouble. They're going to be so far over the cap, and they have to re-sign um, a bunch of guys, including Nas Reed, who I want us to get. And I misspoke myself last podcast. I called him Najee Marshall, but Nas Reed is a 6'8" guy that can light it up from three, and he's tough, and he can play the five a little bit if you're playing small ball. And obviously they have Julius Randle. He's a free agent, so they got to re-sign Julius Randle and Nas Reed, and that's going to cost them so much money. So most experts, people that follow the NBA, speculate that they will not be able to pay all three of them. And so who are they going to get rid of? They're going to have to not sign one of them. So hopefully, and there's going to be other teams that are going to all be trying to get them, but we'll see. But anyway, I hope that it doesn't, I don't freak you out too bad or make you angry. It's my opinion, and everybody has opinions, and our opinions all are different, and I have no problem with people disagreeing with me. Just know that, and everybody can be right and everybody can be wrong, and sometimes it's just hard to bring back too many players and have them be unhappy. But Tobias, chances are we're going to bring him back. So he stepped it up really big time in the playoffs, and he averaged nearly 14 points a game. He shot 34% on threes in the playoffs. He shot 43% on threes, and he averaged more during the playoffs, more rebounds, more. He averaged 6 during the season, 7.7 during the playoffs. Uh, Less assists, but he had 7 blocks, shot 48% from the floor, 43% on threes, played 39 minutes, and he did a good job guarding. Um, oh, Guarding the big guy from New York. That why do my brain's going blank? But anyway, he played great for us. The only way is if we did sign somebody else. The only way somebody would want to trade for him, we overpaid for him. No matter what, he's worth it in hindsight. He was worth it, but we were bidding against nobody else. So to pay him $26 million a year, which is what we're paying him, he wasn't. In the market, there was no market for him. So, but anyway, somebody else might want to trade a player that, um, I, you know, Drew Holiday. I don't want us to get him. He was one of the best, toughest players. He's an unbelievable defender. He's a gutsy guy, but he's shooting worse. He's getting injured more. He's older, and so. But the Celtics got to get rid of some money off their books, and so they could trade and take. Um, Tobias's expiring contract, but we might be able to trade him to some other team that would take him, even like Minnesota, to get an expiring contract because they would want him for that for 1 year. So we'll see what happens. The all rookie team came out, first and second team. Unfortunately, Ron Holland didn't make it. We were all hoping his minutes just weren't. He didn't get enough minutes. And again, I was really happy. No matter if he played good or bad during the regular season, JB always played him. And a lot of times, but I would like him to play more on games that he was playing good, and towards the end of the season, he was playing better and better, and but he didn't play enough minutes to do it. But the all rookie team was Castle, who was rookie of the year, Ricochet. So there's two guys I wanted in this draft for the Pistons because I wanted us to get a 6'10" guy that could shoot threes, and it was Ricochet, and obviously he was taken first, and so we never could have got him. And then there's Modest Bacelis. And it's going to be interesting to see if who's going to be better, if I'm right or wrong. And you can't always tell. There could be, 2 years from now, it can look like one of them's going to be better, and then 3 years it can now look like somebody else is better. But Bucelis plays for Chicago, and he's like 6'10", can shoot the three, and so Ron Holland was better than I thought he was going to be. But we'll see which one of those guys ends up being better. I just knew that again I keep on wanting to get a 6'9", 6'10" guy that can shoot from three. And so that's why I wanted Ricochet or Bucelis. That was back in January. Those were my two players that I targeted. So anyway, to round out the first team, Zach Edey, who started and played for the Grizzlies, big giant Sar that was I think the second player picked, and Jalen Wells, who came out of nowhere and had a really good rookie season for the Grizzlies. So um, The rest of the second team, besides Bucelis, made second team. Bob Carrington, Klingon, who I thought we were going to be able to trade back, and because I thought somebody else would want Klingon, so or I thought maybe we should draft Klingon. And there's another Misi and Ware, and those guys are centers. So there were 4 centers out of the 10 players that made the first 2 all rookie teams. So I thought that was interesting. Um, Real quick, I can talk about this later, but I guess I'm going to say it. Beasley, I want us to resign Beasley. I should have said this at the beginning of the podcast, but Beasley's only 28. He's only 28. He won a lot of games for us. We never would have had the season close if we wouldn't have had him. He shot really well from 3. Unbelievable. He averaged 16 points a game. He was our second leading scorer. 43% from the floor, but 42% about from 3. And that's unbelievable to shoot the volume that he shot. And he just can make tough ones. So a remarkable thing about Beasley, during the season, this guy shoots almost 42% on threes. He shoots 67% on free throws. It blew me up my mind every time he missed one. How could he can catch and shoot with guys hanging all over him, and he could catch and shoot so fast and knock those shots down, and then he's a below average free throw shooter. It just doesn't make sense. But in the playoffs, he did not do so great. And so we would have, again, there's so many factors that we could have won in the playoffs if Hardaway would have been okay, halfway decent shooting, and if Beasley, he had one game, the last game I think it was, where he was 6 for 13 on threes. The rest of the games he was like 2 for 7, 3 for 9, 2 for 10, 1 for 8, and we're just not going to win. He just had to have 4 good games out of the 6 games, and we might have ended up doing okay, but we might end up winning the series. So, but I'm just not blaming Beasley. There's lots of factors, but he just was worse in the playoffs. Shot again 37% from the floor and 33% on threes, and that's included the 6 for 13. So yeah, it's just basketball is not fantasy. If players didn't have feelings and there wasn't all these dynamics about vets and playing time and when you play fantasy, you just plug guys in, and if a guy's not doing well, you just plug a different guy in. But it doesn't work that way when you got an NBA pro team in a locker room and all that. So anyway, thank you for listening. I really appreciate you all. Again, if you have a friend that that follows the Pistons, tell them about my podcast and be the reason that somebody feels listened to and heard, and go Pistons.